Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with the unboxing of the brand new OnePlus Nord 4. So this handset is supposed to be special. It's got a Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3 processor inside, a large AMOLED screen, and it even has IP certification as promised here, IP65, which is something that OnePlus has been staying away from, at least on its mid-rangers. Okay, so the handset goes like this, and finally it's the return of the metal phone. After so many years of ceramic, leather, eco leather, plastic, polycarbonate and more, we're back with the metal, and the phone is quite the looker. Of course, the silver version with those wavy patterns here would have been better, as well as the other green version, but this one actually feels like a throwback to the first Pixel phones. Let's fire up the phone. First of all, it feels pretty comfy in the hand, solidly built, grippy, but a bit heavy on account of the metal. We have a pre-applied plastic protection from the factory for the screen, and the price should be around 500 euros, at least in Europe. The official launch event is on the 16th of July, so still a pretty fresh phone. It has a 50 megapixel back camera here with a Sony Lithium sensor and lots of goodies, including 4 years of Android updates. Okay, so it's an unboxing, so let's see what we're getting inside the box this time, but not before turning down the brightness a little bit. Have to mention that just like the other companies, OnePlus has tailored AI into its features. Now, first things first, there's no trace here of charger, just so you know. We do have an envelope, and some countries are offering chargers as a bonus from their retailers, so at least there's that. We have the safety guide. We have the typical red cable, USB-C to USB-A. We also have here a bonus card with a special code on it, so you can unlock various benefits. There's the quick guide, and this little letter from the folks of OnePlus congratulating you on buying this phone. And finally, the key used to access the slots. I'm talking about dual nano SIMs, no microSD here, as is the trend of late. Okay, back to the phone itself. I think it's time to discuss the design. So, metal unibody chassis. I would have to say, it's been a while. Glass here at the top side, which is looking quite beautiful. It's a premium feel for sure. The frame is also metal, and you can see here the antenna cutouts like back in the day of the iPhone, let's say iPhone 6. We have a fingerprint scanner in the display, and the device is quite well built, grippy, flat for the frame, flat for the screen as well, and with gently rounded corners. We also have the mute slider here, which feels like a throwback nowadays. It's only OnePlus and Apple that are doing that right now. It's got IP65 certification, and if you want measurements, 7.99 millimeters and a weight of 199.5 grams. Once again, I'll say it feels a bit heavy, at least for me, but grippy. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, it's a special type of Fluid AMOLED, super Fluid AMOLED, 6.74 inches in diagonal, with a resolution that's 1.5K, basically 2772 over 1240 pixels, 120 Hz refresh rate, and something called Aqua Touch is supported here. Basically, it can rain on it, you can spill water or coffee on it or something like that, and still it will work fine with liquid on the panel. Now, if we're going into the innards of the phone, we're going to have to use its specs, because we're talking about the CPU now. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3 mobile platform. The 4nm CPU with 8 cores, 65% faster than the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3. We also saw this processor on the Realme GT60 and the OnePlus Ace 3V. We're also lucky enough to have the version with 16 gigs of RAM, which can be expanded by up to 12 extra, and there are also versions out there with 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. We're talking about LPDDR5X. Okay, so aside from that, let's see what else we got here. We have a half a terabyte of storage, which is actually UFS 4.0. If you had the version with 128, it would have been UFS 3.1. Just so you know, there's no microSD. And as far as the battery is concerned, it's a pretty promising 5500 mAh unit, which charges at 100 watts, so very fast. It's supposed to get a full top-up in just 28 minutes. And it should be still just as good as the first day after 1600 charging cycles. Speaking of cycles, speaking of performance and all that, the device has been tailored for long-time performance. It's got something called Trinity Engine, CPU Vita AI, RAM Vita, and also ROM Vita. Basically a way to keep things fluid for a long time, and you should also find some of these features here. In the accessibility here, you should see things available such features. Anyway, what I was saying before, those are rather applied in the background as far as performance is concerned. You don't get a dedicated app to tweak the performance, at least as far as I know. If this were an Oppo, it would have had a special performance app installed somewhere, but I don't see one here, even though we have a special folder called OnePlus, which even includes an infrared emitter controller here, as you can see for yourself. Now, speaking of other specs, we have stereo speakers. One is at the bottom and the other one is more likely the earpiece here. We got the infrared emitter, we got Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, as well as 5G, GPS, GLONASS, Beidou, Galileo, and the works, plus NFC, of course. Okay, so I almost forgot, there is an USB-C 2.0 port at the bottom side, just so you know, which was to be expected, and the fingerprint scanner is embedded in the screen, a bit too low for my taste, but it's definitely snappy and responsive. As far as the camera goes, we have here a punch hole, a cutout for a 16 megapixel camera. It strays away from the typical 32 megapixel shooter, while at the back side it's a simple setup. I have a 50 megapixel Sony Lithia 600 sensor with optical image stabilization and electronic image stabilization. We saw the same sensor on the Oppo Reno 12 Pro, the Realme 12 Plus, the Moto G85, and the OnePlus Nord CE4 Lite, so it's getting traction. And an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera with a Sony sensor as well, and 112 degrees. Believe it or not, even though this is a mid-ranger, it's still capable of 4K 60 frames per second capture, and the camera options go like this. Okay, so we're getting panorama, time-lapse, document scanner, high resolution, slow-mo, dual view video, night, movie, and long exposure. There's also portrait mode, of course, but without the bells and whistles of the, well, Oppo phones, which are related to this one. And then we have the photo department, where you can play with exposure and other features here like auto HDR. This is the video department, where there's a special ultra steady stabilization mode, and we can go up to 4K 60 frames per second capture. Plus there's a pro mode where you can tweak the white balance, focus, exposure, shutter, and ISO. I would say we're pretty much covering the whole package here as far as the camera goes, and I think it's time to move forward to software. First things first, it's Android 14 here with Oxygen OS 14.1 on top. You're getting 4 years of Android updates and 6 years of security updates. AI is manifested here, well, in a lot of forms. There's something called AI Audio Summary, which should be available in the Notes application on the device. So first of all, you're going to be recording stuff with this app here. I have a recording here, and you can create a summary by pressing that button, an audio transcript, and you can see it like that. I actually played the speech from Elon Musk, it transcribed it and made this summary. That's AI feature number 1. We also have AI note summary, which lets you take a, well, note of a summary of a note, and most of the AI features are manifested via this side window. You also have file doc, where you can drag your photos. So for example, if I have a photo here, even a measly screenshot, I can keep it pressed maybe, or maybe scan something, or even do this, a screenshot, and save it into the file doc. You can save images to the file doc, you can save text to the file doc, and there's something else. You can go ahead and extract text from a photo if you want to, using the same screenshots. Now, aside from that, if you're in a web browser, and let's say you're on the BBC website, you have a variety of options here. New options. We have AI Speak, which will play what's on the screen for you.
Donald Trump rally shooting. U.S. Secret Service facing questions after Trump survives assassination attempt. BBC News.
Okay, and you can also do an AI summary. It scans the screen and gives you a quick summary of what's on the screen, so you don't have to read the whole article, just the core points. And that's it here. And an interesting feature is that in the email you can also get some help here, or you should get some help with AI Writer. So write a wedding invitation. Okay, you can be concise, detailed, or polite. Polite, generate. This is the letter invitation, so that's another example of AI. I'm reasonably sure that you should be getting extra AI features in photos as well. I see that file dock is available, recent files and more. Plus there's of course multitasking and gesture-based navigation. We're just scratching the surface of what AI can do here. There's something called raw algorithms, the same as the ones that the OnePlus 12 applied for the camera. So yeah, there's also that. There's also something called AI group fees, basically selfies, which will keep people's eyes open, which will be available with a later update. And I would say that's pretty much it as far as the AI is concerned. Aside from that, gamers are also taken care of. So if I start a game like Asphalt, for example, I will have to swipe here from the top and I will receive this area. You can tweak stuff, have a balance mode, have a pro gamer mode, have a low power mode, have a championship mode, screen recording, network optimization, as well as touch optimization, orientation lock, even voice changer and game filters. There is a lot that gamers can enjoy here. I have to mention that on account of having a metal body, the device gets a bit hot at times, especially intensive games, but that was to be expected. And other apps include, just as I said before, infrared remote here. There's a note-taking application, and those two are for relaxation purposes, Relax and Zen Space. 4 years of updates, a pretty classy phone, and I look forward to seeing the silver one because that's the actual looker. To me, this looks like, I would say, a bit of a step back camera-wise. The predecessor had the same camera as the OnePlus 11. This one doesn't have the same camera as the OnePlus 12, but it does seem to be focused on fluidity and working fine for multiple years. And it has a Snapdragon CPU, not a MediaTek, which is an interesting choice. That's it from us. This has been the unboxing of the OnePlus Nord 4. Goodbye.